Welcome to the Sack of Stats podcast. I am Pam Maldonado, joined by my girl Kelly in Vegas, and we're here to preview Week 16 of the NFL. We are doing contest bets, which we're doing pretty good on. 2-2 last week, 2-2-1. That's cool. That works out. Whatever. Overall in the season, we're 39, 33, and 3. Could be better. It could be worse. Kelly, my girl. I love Week 16. What are you thinking?
You know, there is a lot to like about Week 16, right? I liked your Jags last night in a teaser, and the line got bet way up. And my partner in another contest said, "Don't you think we should use the stale line of the Jets?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he goes, "Well, why aren't you betting the Jags?" And I go, "I don't know. I'm betting like a wuss. Why did I leave 3 college basketball winners?" Just like I tweeted it out and said, "Listen, I didn't get to the window." Right now, I'm just kind of cruising, right? I'm not loving the bowl games, seeing the college basketball board really well. So I'm not trying to like force bets.
Right.
And especially not moving against the market like that. And Jags got it done. Zach Wilson looked terrible per usual. And I got the easiest teaser win ever.
And I took the under, and I heartily wager.
Nice.
You and I, preseason, early in the season, we were talking about we're only going to wager our best bets. I have stuck to that. If you look at my record, I have it on an Excel sheet for all to see. It's all there. I was 15-8 because I rarely bet outside of my best bets. And I said, I am betting the under. I love it. I have to. I don't really like to go outside of my best bets, but if you feel it, you take it. If you don't force it. It's that simple. And people are asking me the same thing. Why aren't you doing bowls? You haven't even bet a single bowl. I haven't even paid attention to the bowl games because there's so much volatility between the transfer portal, player opt-outs, injury news, that I don't care to scramble information to try to find that, when for one, we're doing pretty well with our best bets in NFL. 2, I have tennis starting in 2 weeks. That is my bread and butter of 2022. I am so excited for the 2023 season. I'm just going to chill. Like you said, you're cruising. I'm cruising. Like, why force anything right now? It's the holidays.
I'm in 2 bowl pools. Up until the Liberty game, so what was that, a few nights ago, I was 1-6. Literally. It was terrible.
Oh, no.
Absolutely terrible. I talked to myself off Troy because the line move spooked me last Friday. I talked myself off Liberty because every time I bet on a coach, or at least in the contest, bet with a coach that left, everything went all to hell. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm done with this overthought process, right? I've got a terrible number on Purdue, 8 points off the market right now in pocket. I've got K-State plus 5.5. Great number before Bryce Young played. Now that Bryce Young's playing, terrible number there. So you're right. Like, if there's something like tonight in the bowl game, I forget which one it is, but it's Wake Forest Mizzou. I like Mizzou, but am I actually going to get to the window? Probably not. That's the hard part here. There is just a lot going on. And you're right, with NFL, I think this last couple of weeks, we can really make a ton of money. Last week, I actually had 4 bets on Sunday. Like I said, I was really diligent as well, but I said, you know what? Fine. It went 3-0-1. I'll take that all day long.
I've always said, I personally have to love my bets, not just like them. Oh, I like this. Yeah, sure. We'll see what happens. No, I want to love it because I want to go in and be like, I am betting my max units on this. If it's 2, 3, 4, whatever I think that I want to do, I want to wager it comfortably. Not, I'm going to do a half unit because it scares me. Well, if it fucking scares you, don't bet it.
You're not allowed to say the F word anymore. I got explicit instructions. But all jokes aside, I have a guy that I met when I was in Philadelphia. He was like, "Kel, can you share your bets with me?" I said, "Sure." And he's asking a lot, like, "That's all you played? Why is this all you played?" I said, "Listen, here's some other stuff I like, but if I'm not putting my hard-earned dollars on it, why should you?"
Exactly.
I think it's a real thing. And this weekend, I am going to probably have 3 NFL bets though, because we agreed on our best bet. And then when I told you my second favorite, you said it was also your second favorite.
Hold on. So here's what happens. Kelly texts me her messages. She gives me her long list every single week. And sometimes, but for the most part, I don't respond. This time I responded. She actually messaged me because I posted to my Instagram like this little like face of like, oh, I don't want to do it. Am I really going to make the Giants my best bet? And she sends me a screenshot of that and she shows me, and then she's like, this is my best bet. I'm like,
I literally sent a screenshot of the group chat that I'm in. I had texted 30 seconds prior and goes, you guys, Giants going to be my best bet this weekend. And as soon as I logged on Instagram waiting for another show to start, I was like, well, Pam likes the Giants too, I guess.
One. So it was really hard for me to like figure out, okay, so like you and I, we don't really love as best bets multiple games. So then I had a backup, and she said, and Kelly said, like, okay, if you want to keep the Giants, you do that, and I'll switch to a second best bet. Well, Kelly, what's your second best bet? Her second best bet is my second best bet. So I was like, if I don't take Giants, I'll take the Bears. Kelly was like, if I don't take the Bears, I'll take the Giants. So then that is like automatically in. We don't need to preview this. Those are our two best bets.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Just as a refresher, what it is that we're doing, we are picking 5 against the spread picks in the NFL each week for a contest. These are stale lines. The lines are released on Wednesdays, and then they are pushed out. The lines don't move, and then so overall in the season we are 39, 33, and 3. Kelly's best bets are 9, 5, and 1. My best bets are 9 and 6. I have to pull a Kelly. I didn't look at the contest that we're in, those lines.
Oh, you didn't?
So let me get those up.
That's funny because I actually have them pulled up on my computer screen. I'm so proud of myself for being prepared today.
So perfect. So then let's jump right into it. By default, Giants, Bears, those are number 1, number 2. It doesn't matter whose is who. We'll claim as both. But talk to me a little bit about, let's start with the Giants. Why do you love the Giants? And why was I so like, oh, this is ugly? But I'm gonna do it.
It is ugly. It is ugly, but I'm loving the reverse line movement here, Pam. And trust me, I wanted to make a case for the Eagles, which we'll get to here in a minute. And I really tried to say, okay, this is not this much of a drop off. And again, we'll talk about it here in a second, but I kind of had those two on the top of my list. If you look right here, Eagles, Giants. And then as you see, the Bears is down here, but I've really grown to like the Bears a lot more towards the end of the week, but I gave out on another show. Giants is my best bet. Now, the Giants offense scares me, right? We know that they have struggled at times to put up 3 scores, and that's been kind of the problem. Now, how I see this going is a little different than I've seen other people. I don't want the Giants in a shootout whatsoever, and that's going to come on the back of their defense. We get another big performance from them like we saw last week. I ended up on the Giants last week in all of my pools with the 4.5. Really happy to see them get the win. Especially get that divisional under. And that was because this defense shows up. I know it sounds really cheesy and a very lazy handicap, and it's not meant to be, but give me the better defense plus the points here, Pam, because this Giants team has the ability to exploit this Vikings offense. We've seen them exploited several times this year. We've heard bookmakers say every single week that they're overrated. Plus, guess what? Brian Dable, I love him. You love him. Makes great second half adjustments. He's 8-2 as an underdog against the spread. So that's pretty much all I got for the Giants. As I said, it sounds kind of like a lazy handicap. It's not meant to be, but I'm also trying not to overthink this one because it is gross.
Well, if yours is a little bit lazy, then I'm going to add in some of the statistical information to plug in here. And it's about exactly, you nailed it. I am trying to fade the Kirk Cousins offense. Like, the offense looks good. Justin Jefferson is like well on his way to making a bajillion yards and cool. However, this matchup specifically bodes really well for the Giants. The Giants both blitz and play man coverage at the highest rate in the league for both. Kirk Cousins against the blitz, he is 35th in completion percentage, and he is 5.6 yards per pass attempt ahead of only Carson Wentz. When was the last time we saw Carson Wentz? He's that bad against the blitz. Now, Kirk Cousins against man coverage, 25th in completion percentage and 20th in yards per pass attempt. This defense has been pretty solid for the Giants. They haven't allowed more than 2 passing touchdowns in a single game this season. That's pretty impressive. This is a huge buy low spot for the Giants, in my opinion, and buy and sell high the Vikings, who just last week, they had literally the largest comeback in NFL history. They were down 33-0 at the half. It was the biggest comeback in NFL history. 39-36 they won. Cousins threw 470 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. This is a fade on that is not going to happen again. This is like a huge letdown spot for like an overwhelming just like triumph of a victory in that game that they should not have had. You mentioned it, Brian Dable's New York squad, they are 8-2 against the spread as an underdog. And since week 10, Minnesota's defense is allowing opponents to score at the highest rate in the league. So I like the over on this game. I think the Giants, as crap of an offense they tend to have, they can definitely put up some points here because the Vikings defense is just absolutely atrocious. Kirk Cousins is going to struggle against the blitz. He's going to struggle against man coverage. Now they could absolutely just use Dalvin Cook, run up and down all field all day, but I think that Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, and more importantly, Brian Dable, they have a game plan for this. And I don't know. I love it. I love it. I do this face like, oh, but I love it. And then, okay. So since you and I both loved the Giants, do you want to just like claim that as both of our best bets and then we come up collectively with the other 4, knowing that we both also love the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, it's same, right? It doesn't really matter to me. I will be on Buffalo. I took the 8.5 yesterday, and I think you can still find it out there. It's still 8.5 in the contest, but it is moving to 8.
On Buffalo?
Or excuse me, Chicago. I can. I promise
Bears.
I can reiterate my best bets. You know, I should have had more caffeine today. Yeah. So let's get into the Bears. Bottom line, Bills. Everybody's ready to give them the Lombardi. Well, not me, but a lot of people are. And that's fine. I understand that this team beats up on crappier teams. And that's what a lot of people are expecting here. But man, I don't know. Buffalo has not been good, especially on the road when being able to put away these types of teams. They won just one of their last 6 road games by more than 4 points. And you're giving me over a touchdown here with a really solid defense in Chicago. The weather's going to be atrocious. Yes, I think that does come into play when you're looking towards this many points. Keep an eye on it. Just put a little asterisk. Check out the wind report because that is the most detrimental as far as totals go, and being able to throw the ball downfield to guys like Stephon Diggs. Like, how exciting is it, Pam, I think, to watch the magic between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. They're like little best buddies, and I think it's so cute. But at the same point in time, sometimes people know that relationship, and we're going to see, I believe, him get double teamed. Yes, we did see Chicago's secondary that did get a little smoked last week, and that is my one caveat. A.J. Brown and even Devonta Smith kind of had a day, if you will. But I do think this is still too many points. Buffalo's just covered 2 of their last 8 games. Unfortunately, I'd love to sit here and say, okay, I think Chicago has an opportunity to win this one. They just don't win games, Pam. That's my problem. If they could prove to me that they can win a football game, maybe I would be sprinkling a little bit here on the money line, but I haven't seen it just yet. And until I see something from them that says they want, like, great, they get the cover, that's what we need. That's the first step. Second step is winning games outright. Sounds like you think they maybe have a shot to win it outright, though.
I do, because I've been unimpressed with the Bills pretty much like all season. I've seen spurts of Josh Allen that reverted back to his Wyoming days. I mean, he's kind of but you talked about the weather. There's 25-mile-per-hour sustained winds, 35-mile-per-hour gusts. The Bills, they have won 5 games straight, but they're 2-3 against the spread in those games. More importantly, since playing Green Bay in week 8, the Bills are 1-6 against the spread of a favorite of at least 6 points. Now Justin Fields, and I'm not just saying this because, like, I have 2 teams. Jags, first and foremost, that is my team. But I also really love the Bears, and it was because Allen Robinson went to the Bears, and both of them just kind of stuck with me. So anyway, with Justin Fields, he is an absolute baller. We have been seeing in the last few weeks why he was drafted so highly in the first place, why he was so great when he was in college in the first place. And because they finally have let him be a playmaking star with his legs. Between him, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert is off of IR. He's expected to play this week. That is a solid trio of running backs. They're already the number 1 rushing offense in the league. Now facing the Bills defense, it's the Bills defense and it's Josh Allen. They just allowed the Miami Dolphins 200 rushing yards for 7.5 yards per rush. That is the best season. That is the best rushing single game for the Dolphins all season long. Bills' questionable rushing defense bodes well for the Bears' ability to do some damage on the ground. And the Bears, you talked about it, and it's crazy that they haven't rushed for less than 127 yards since week 5. He is putting up all of these monster points in, like, fantasy. Justin Fields is because of all of the ability that he's making on the ground. He's rushing for 100 yards here, 150 yards there, and they're losing. So it doesn't make sense to be performing this well on your offense and still finding ways to lose. But 8 points, the argument that I've heard, if this wasn't a weather game, this would be like Bills 10. I don't think I would agree with that sentiment because the Bears have been pretty competitive. Like they're not winning the games, but they're kind of like the Lions in like last year where they're keeping every contest they have within reach. So they're not getting blown out of the water out of here. Justin Fields is a great, I don't know. I love all three running backs units to have themselves a field day against this Bills defense that has just shown that either it's slipping or was never there in the first place. So Bears +8.
Fair enough. I think also this is the type of, well, I know we're a little later, but I would say this is the time of the year where we really see the offensive and defensive coordinator strengths, right? And what they're able to exploit. And I would agree with that this is a Bills defense that is exploitable. Just watch the tape, figure out who's not on their man properly, figure out who's leaving holes open, because Justin Fields, I think, deserves a ton of credit for what he's been able to do. Being stuck in that 3-quarterback system last year had to be absolutely a nightmare scenario. But this year, the Bears have made a step forward. I'm not sitting here, completely tooting their horn, but they've only covered 1 of 5 lately. Last week, they showed me a lot against the Eagles. We spoke about that. We were going to bet against the Eagles. And then I bet against
we should have. We should have bet against the Eagles. Damn it. Missed opportunity. We could have gone 3-2 instead of 2-2-1. That doesn't matter. So then those are our 2 best bets that are automatically plugged in. We are both going with the Giants +4 to the Vikings and then the Bears +8.5 to the Bills. Now to kind of go over every other option because you and I really kind of didn't agree on too much this week. You want to talk about the Eagles? That was one on your list.
It was, and I really, really, really wanted to make a case for this Eagles team. Gardner Minshew. It's not that I don't love it, but I will say this, right? We talked about overreactions to the lines. Let me pull up these look-ahead lines back from August, just because I wanted to remind myself fully. They were +4 at Dallas, right? And then now we've seen the Eagles just be absolutely like up here. Everybody wants to back the Eagles. The Eagles are winning all these games. We saw the line Eagles 2.5 when it was supposed to be Hurts last week before Hurts was announced that he was hurt. So that being said, now we're sitting here with in the contest, I just want to double check. I believe it's a 5. It's a 5.5 in the contest. So now we're sitting here with a 5.5. And that tells me that that's a 7-point drop off between Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. It's just not, Pam. That's my biggest problem here. Dallas has been absolutely terrible as of late. And that's because they've been getting exposed. And oh boy, who's turning the freaking ball over worse than Josh Allen was? Dak Prescott has just, I jokingly retweeted a thing from the Barstool Sportsbook account with LaShawn McCoy just saying ass, ass, ass all over again, which is what we were saying last week. And I was like, I just need somebody, and that's what he was saying. I get it. He's an Eagles fan, a former Eagles player. But bottom line, if this Eagles defense can just give enough pressure, Dak is going to make his own mistakes. We saw last week with the Jags. I had the Jags +4 on my list. I ended up getting to the window with them, and they looked terrible. They were down 2 scores for a better part of that game, and all of a sudden, momentum shift. Dak throws an interception, and the Jags get the win, and actually threw 2 interceptions, but that was the start of it. Philadelphia has covered every single road game this year. Dallas has not played well at home in particular, at least in terms of against the spread. I think what we're going to see here is Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, both of those guys just punching the ball down their throat. Now, I did take the under, and that doesn't mean I like the under. It is a blind system bet, Pam, because those divisionals 4-1 again last week. Now, this is the scariest one I've bet so far. I'll be really honest with you. The Bills won last week that lost. I didn't like it. I don't like this one either, but I do like it in correlation with the Eagles.
Right.
Because the Eagles are going to shut down the pass for the Giants, or excuse me, for the Cowboys, like we saw them do versus the Giants and even against Justin Fields last week. Their pass rush should be able to just say, okay, how did everybody else get Dak to throw at least 2 interceptions in a game? Follow that playbook, bottom line. And this is not a situation I love. If Dallas would have squeaked out a win last week in Jacksonville but not covered, I would probably love the Eagles this week, and they probably would have made my best bet. But as of right now, I just like it. I don't think I'm going to actually get to the window with this team. because I already am on the under. And as I've said before, I hate betting both sides of a total and a side.
I feel like you're reading my notes. like verbatim. You're talking about, okay, the only one thing that I have is that the Eagles, Dak Prescott has the opportunity here to throw it away. So does Gardner Minshew. You're talking about Dallas is number 1 in takeaways, the Philadelphia Eagles are number 2. So there's going to be turnovers from both sides of the ball, from both teams here. You talked about Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. Absolutely. I think that is definitely one way still that the Eagles can not only come out with a cover, but come out with a win, because Dallas defense is 22nd in opponent yards per yards per rush attempt. And in back-to-back weeks, they allowed 200 rushing yards to the Jags last week, which helped them lead to that comeback win, 100 of which was to one running back in Travis Etienne, and then 78 from Texans running back Dameon Pierce. What do you think Miles Sanders and Boston Scott are going to do, knowing that Jalen Hurts is not on the lineup? They're going to go run heavy because to try to prevent Gardner Minshew from making mistakes. Then you also mentioned the Eagles pass rush. Well, yeah, it is number 1 in sack percentage because of at least 2 players. Dak Prescott is going to struggle in this game because Hassan Reddick, Javon Hargrave, 22 sacks combined, and that's just because those are the top 2 players. They have an entire unit of 5-6 guys that have at least 4 sacks to their name this season. This is a really good pass rush. And we saw it last week with the Jaguars. If you put it into a play calling situation, who am I going to trust more? Kellen Moore? No, it's never Kellen Moore because he does way too much with Dak, even though they still don't have the receivers downfield. I like the Eagles too. Isn't everyone going to be on the Eagles? Does that matter?
They probably are. But listen, this is the bottom line. And Dallas has already clinched a playoff berth, right?
Right.
I know these two teams hate each other because they're divisional opponents, and playing spoiler is one thing. I also think another situation that can go into this. Did you watch the eulogy that Gardner Minshew did for Mike Leach?
Mike Leach, yeah.
Was pretty great, right? And I think sometimes you get those emotions where you hear it's guys, the anniversary of a family member passing, or a parent passes away on a Friday and they still play Sunday. And there's something about that emotion, Pam, that I think drives some of these guys. Now, obviously, this is a team sport, but being the leader, if you will, of the team for that weekend, or maybe subsequently the next few weeks, depending on what's really wrong with Jalen Hurts, kind of got to wonder. Gardner Minshew, yes, he is turnover prone. We've seen it from time to time, but typically when he steps in and gets that first start, I know that he doesn't look great, but he has been so good as a divisional underdog. 5-2 against the spread as a divisional underdog, 4-0 as a dog of more than 5 points in his.
Do you want to plug it in, or do you want to keep it as a option?
I think because we agree, we plug it in.
Literally talked to just one game. Okay. Then yeah, that's game number 3. Let's just go ahead and run through the list then. Do you have an opinion on Saints Browns?
Zero opinion whatsoever. Do you want me to try to find one?
Move it along. Bengals Patriots.
God, Pam, I wanted to make a case for New England so bad this week. I really did.
Why?
Because they blew it last week. They freaking blew it.
They blow it every week against good teams.
I'm so happy. Listen, I'm so happy they blew it. I am so happy they blew it because I have under 8.5 wins. I needed that Raiders win, but like I heard that Bill didn't even say anything in the locker room. I heard he just was like dead silent, which is scary, right? Like, you know, like your parents like yell at you or you'd get in trouble.
They're
or
disappointed.
Whatever. Yeah, they're disappointed. But like, yo, he didn't even address you guys. Like, he didn't even say a word. And, you know, and then on the flip side, you got Mac Jones literally throwing a fit. And I kind of don't blame him. I would probably pull the Tom Brady and broke some Microsoft Surface tablets as well. But right now, they're sitting at the 8 seed and just kind of hanging out here. They got to get a win somewhere. And this defense in New England.
The Bengals, though.
I know. Trust me. Hey, I watched the Bengals last week.
I'm on the Bengals side.
That's the only. I wanted to make a case for the Pats. I didn't. After what I saw from the Bengals last weekend against that Bucs defense, it was just nuts. It was like a flipped on a switch, and the Bengals defense actually 4 turnovers. Tom Brady. What the hell happened? Yeah, that
So
was it was a weird game. But go ahead and tell me why you like the Bengals.
okay, they've covered 6 straight, and you always want to like maybe not back the team that's covered 6 straight because regression is coming.
Maybe,
However,
but there. Why would you? Do you want to step in front of that freight train? Not either.
exactly. But I mean, I know that last week in the first half, the Bengals didn't look that great, but this offense is still in sync. They are scoring a touchdown at the third highest rate in the league. They're converting red zone possessions into touchdowns, not field goals, at the fourth best rate in the league. That is not the New England Patriots. The Patriots are actually dead last in both categories. They
Oof.
are not putting up points. Joe Burrow leads the NFL in expected points added. Mac Jones is last. Every time that, just for those that don't know what expected points added means, that means every time Joe Burrow drops back, the likelihood of Bengals putting up a touchdown is very high. And for Mac Jones,
Ooh.
dead last, not going to happen. What makes this game interesting, though, and maybe why the line is what it is that this is Joe Burrow's first time playing against Bill Belichick defense. However,
Oh.
however, the defense is kind of trash. I don't know where you're getting that the Patriots have a good defense, because in 3 of the last 4 weeks, they've allowed 8 total passing touchdowns to
It's been
Kirk
bad.
Cousins, Josh Allen, and Derek Carr. All 3 of those matchups losing by at least 6 points. How is New England's offense going to keep up knowing that they can't score touchdowns? They're they're dead last in red zone percentage. They are punting. The Patriots are punting on 51% of their drives. That is the highest rate in the league. They are punting as often as they are getting it to the 50. Like, what are you doing? And now you're going up against the Bengals defense, who we saw last week completely flip the switch, not both offensively, also defensively. That is a capable second half team. Defensively, the Bengals, I think, are like the 5th best in the league for opponent scores allowed. Where's if New England
Trust me,
cannot
I
keep
don't
up,
want to
how
take
are
New
you
England.
stopping Joe
I
Burrow?
tried to make a case for them. I did. I was like, okay, this line is so fishy. What could entice me? I know this is typical of a college basketball or college football team, but I think the Pats could lose that game from last weekend twice. I mean, to lose a game in that type of fashion really does get to your morale. When I was there for the Colts game, people were chanting for Bailey Zappi here and there, kind of going back and forth. They may start those chants in the first quarter this week. We're going to find out. I'm with you. I totally understand why you like Cincinnati. It makes a lot of sense. And you're right.
We can put it in the queue.
Pat's defense has really, really gone downhill.
They do well against bad teams, so they struggle against good quarterbacks.
They've also lost their last 5 as home dogs. So it's not like there's some great home dog to want to back either.
Well, we can keep that as a cue if you don't feel strongly about it. What do you think about Lions Panthers? Opinion there?
Lean towards the Panthers. I put them in a teaser, Pam. I do think that Carolina last week just kind of fell on their face. Here's a Lions team that Jared Goff and company has just looked really great, right? We had the Lions last week. It was your best bet. And what they do, here you go, Jared, go do your thing. And you haven't really seen a lot of coaches do that with him. But Dan Campbell says, go for it. I actually have heard, sounds kind of weird, but if you look at the new odds for comeback player of the year, it's kind of wild how much Jared Goff has just moved up the rankings as of recently.
What does he come back from playing bad football? Like, what is he?
Basically, that's true. Usually those are awarded to guys that have had injuries.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers are going to have to step up big defensively here to cover the 8.5, which is what it is in the teaser. Sam Darnold's kind of funny. He's just there, and he doesn't move the needle for me. But man, if they win this game, they could be atop the NFC South with the freaking Bucks. Like none of those teams want to win that division. If anything we saw last week, it's just like, nah, we don't really care. You can have the NFC South. No, you can have it because it has been absolutely a ton of bad football.
So then you're saying you like the Panthers?
In a teaser. I don't want to take them. I didn't take them on the money line. I didn't do anything with them outside of getting them up over a touchdown at home with a low total.
So I'm talking about the Bengals, how they've covered 6 games straight and maybe the regression comes, but the Lions have covered 7 games straight and maybe the regression comes. I have become a huge Lions fan. I do respect Jared Goff and his hustle. I respect Dan Campbell, respecting Jared Goff and the atmosphere that he's built in this. I watch his videos. I love Dan Campbell. And as a result, I've become a Lions fan. So I'm not sure that I'm looking at this game entirely objectively. I do like
And
the
that's
Panthers,
fair.
however. I do like the Panthers, however, and it is because the Lions defense has definitely improved. In the last 3 games, they've held opponents to 5.7 yards per play compared to 6.2 on the season. They've held opponents to 2.9 yards per carry compared to 4.9 on the season. In the last 7 games, more importantly, they have forced 12 turnovers in that span. That is number 1 in the league. That's the best turnover differential in the last 7 games. So on one hand, I still think that the Lions can win. And on the other hand, it's 2.5. And how does this happen? But the Panthers can still maybe cover, because even though that the defense is improving for the Lions, it was just 2 weeks ago that the Lions against the Bears allowed 260 yards of rushing offense, 7.4 yards per carry. And it was also just 2 weeks ago that we saw the Panthers running back crew rush for 220 yards between Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman. They both had 75 rushing yards of their own. So which version of the Lions defense are we going to see here? The one that's been super like stellar as of late, but hasn't played a rushing offense like the Panthers. And the Panthers looked like last week against the Steelers, but the Steelers are also top 5 against the run. So that was kind of expected. So I think there's an opportunity here that the Panthers can find some success on the ground. So if you do like the Panthers, I'm leaning to the Panthers.
I'm leaning towards the Panthers as well. Like I said, I wussed out and just took them in a teaser because they've been doing really well. Total's 44, so it's a little higher than I'd like it to be. But I think that's just because of what we've seen from Detroit as of lately. I think the Panthers could easily go in there, ground and pound, kill the clock, be able to exploit that rushing defense of Detroit. I agree with you. And I always laugh because I always get told, oh, games don't land 1. Yeah, I think this game could easily land 1. It could be a 21-20 final and nobody would be surprised.
Well, nobody would be surprised. We can put that on the queue also because I think we have a lot of queue options. So you were on the Steelers. I'm on the Raiders. Pass.
I mean, I'm on the Raiders in a teaser for what it's worth as well. I do lean towards the Steelers. Obviously, it is the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. One of their best players ever just passed away, of course, unfortunately, right before that deal. And as I mentioned, you can't quantify emotion, but it's always an interesting angle to see how teams face adversity or how they face in like big moments. And so something just kind of was in the back of my head. I'm like, you know what? I kind of lean towards the Steelers here. I could see Steelers money line and Raiders plus 8.5 and just hope it lands somewhere in the middle. And that may be what I end up doing here.
So then Eagles we agreed on. Steelers were opposite on. You also have Packers. I like the Dolphins. So then that leaves us.
Yeah.
You like Washington. I like 49ers. That's why I was like, you other than the Giants and the Bears, we didn't agree on much. So by default, do you want to plug in the Eagles? Because that's one of the, we already have that in the Eagles. Okay.
Yeah, Panthers. I think we figure out one more. I don't love anything really on Sunday. I do lean towards the Packers. As you mentioned, you lean towards Miami. I could probably make a case for the Rams against Denver. I mean, at home. That sounds gross. I think it's a way better teaser play. I
like Denver.
I could probably make a case. I could try to make a case for Arizona. It sounds disgusting.
I like no, because it's not even Kyler Murray. It's who's the guy?
Is it not Colt McCoy either?
No, I believe it's
the even backup from there. So maybe I can't make a case.
Yeah, like the Bucs should absolutely win this game.
Should. Let's see. Colt
Trace
McCoy.
McSorley.
Trace. Gotta love Trace.
Tyler's on IR and Colt McCoy is out. So it's Trace McSorley. So by default, plug in the Bucs, because if they can't beat Trace McSorley.
I mean, okay, so here's something to think about then. We talk about stale lines. Bucs are 7.5 in the contest, and in real life, they're already up to 9. Because I think at this point, bookmakers are probably trying to protect themselves from a teaser situation, saying, all right, here's where we're at. We have taken plenty of money on Bucks teaser, so let's just move it to 9. And I think that's what we're seeing here. So we are getting the best of the number, if you will. Man, the Bucks still being able to make the playoffs is just crazy. Like they were, I mean, last week, I'm not a Bucks fan. I was in Bucks gear. I was with Bucks fans and just kind of just cruising, having a good time. You know, they're up at half, but 34 unanswered in the fourth quarter is like unexcusable to me. I mean, it was just it like the kid behind me, Pam, I tweeted this out and he's like, "You're washed." I mean, he's like 12, yelling at we're like behind the Bengals bench and the Bucks are in the red zone and we're right there on like 10 or 15-yard line. And we're on the front row and he's on the second. And I'm going, I wonder if Tom can actually hear him. Like, cause it's like not that loud in there because the Bucks are on offense. And I'm like, what a little shit, you know, like I was probably that kid. But then in the middle of the fourth quarter, I'm high-fiving. I'm like, good job, buddy. You saw it before I did. Like, yep, Tom Brady just right off into the sunset. And that's kind of my problem is that sometimes when teams don't pass the eye test, i.e. the Bucks, who have been outscored in the last 2 games, 69-30.
Oh my God.
Like, I don't think I can lay points with them on the road. That's my big problem. So and maybe sometimes, no, I'm just going to say, maybe sometimes I gotta get past that. I got to get past what I just saw.
I'm exactly on the same boat as you are because everything that you look at for the Bucks, you're like, why in the hell would I take them? They are 3-10-1 against the spread this season. That is the worst in the league. They are averaging 1.1 points per drive on the road. That is second worst in the league. They have scored a touchdown on only 8% of their drives. That is the lowest rate in the league. And they have gained only this is so bad. How like Brady, a Super Bowl, how many rings, how many touchdowns? Because you ain't got any, homeboy. Like Tampa Bay, only 36% of their completions have gained 10 yards or more. That is 30th in the league. But it's Trace McSorley and Arizona.
Cliff is terrible at home.
Cliff is terrible.
1-12 in their last 13 home games. Straight
Arizona
up, obviously.
Is 27th in passing points per attempt. They faced, Mac Jones and Brett Ripien in the past 2 weeks. Brady, as bad as he is, by default is still better than Mac Jones and Brett Ripien. And John Wolford are the quarterbacks that the Cardinals have faced.
Yeah.
By default, because let's like run through the list. We already have Giants. You don't have an opinion on Saints Browns. Do you
like something Lions. In that game, or did you just want to skip
like
it
the Saints.
You like the Saints?
Is 2.5. Oh, the line's 2.5.
It is 2.5. And that's interesting because
obviously.
Of course. That's surprising you like the Saints. I pretty much just stopped watching their games because I'm so mad at Dennis Allen and the Andy Dalton project. It's not even funny.
It's awful. So my thinking on this is there's been talks about, playing Taysom Hill a lot more. And of course, he's literally the best player that the Saints have right now. If they stick with Taysom Hill and let him pass, let him run, let him be a Swiss Army self, this is a totally doable game to come out with an outright win because this is the lowest game it's 32 points. And why is it 32 points and so low? Because there's going to be a ton of wind. You're talking about 30 mile per hour sustained winds,
and
55 snow. And snow and rain. That kind of evens out the playing field on offense. So then you're going to give me the better defense. And that's exactly why you back the Saints is because
that's the only reason why I can back the Saints.
That's the only reason why you back the Saints is because they have allowed the fewest yards per play in the league at just over 4.5. They've also allowed no more than 18 points per game. They've given up a total of 7 passing touchdowns since week 7. Now they're 2-2 in those games. They're still doing badly and still losing games, including a 13-0 shutout win to the 49ers. But look how stout of a defense the 49ers are. And now you're going up against the Browns, whose offense is just like complete garbage right now with Deshaun Watson. They are 29th in points per drive. Before him, they were 5th. They're 31st in the league in drives to gain either a first down or a touchdown. They are 27th in yards per completed pass. I don't know where the points are coming from for the Browns. If you leave it up to the running backs, great, potentially. The Saints still have one hell of a good rushing defense. So because
I'm still currently
they're both
looking
susceptible.
At this. I'm still looking at the Cincinnati Patriots
I need
game.
Taysom Hill against the Browns In what world do I ever say that? Taysom Hill, be my savior.
I don't trust them. And this is the caveat to everything you just said about the weather. This is a dome team.
No.
Yes, they have heated sideline seats. Yes, they have big, huge jackets we all look ridiculous in. But I just wonder if they have the guts to be out there freezing your ass off, being completely and utterly miserable. If I had to pick one team from Ohio to either fade or back, I would much rather be on board with Cincinnati than trying to get involved with this Cleveland game. That's just
then
the
do you
facts.
want to plug in Bengals and then Bucks?
Bengals is going to be I'd much rather take the Panthers than the Bucks. I can't do the Bucks. I'm going to be really honest with you. The Bucks just gross.
Texans, Titans,
gross.
Titans,
I was just getting ready to ask you that. I'm surprised we aren't trying to ride this Houston bandwagon here.
I mean, the Titans are just completely dismantled with every player injury known to man. Let me pull up their injuries.
Yeah. How bad is Tannehill? He's not good.
He's out.
I know he's out, but yeah, it's going to be Malik.
So it's going to be Malik. They're going to be down one of their offensive linemen. They're out their safety. They're out their center. They're out their guard and their center. That's 2 offensive linemen that they're going to be without with a rookie quarterback. There's 2 safeties that are out. A cornerback is out. A linebacker is out. 3 cornerbacks. And then of course
they struggle to score.
They have nobody. And
they've allowed their defense has allowed over 30 points in the last 2 out of the last 3 games.
So I actually had a really good nugget to talk about how you just mentioned how they don't score points. Yeah, that is exactly correct. And let me find that data point.
Yeah, I know we weren't planning on talking about this game, but we've just had to get down in the muck here to try to find a 5th game, and here's where we are. And I actually don't hate the Texans at all. I mean, listen, it's like almost like you're playing with house money right now. They know they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're still just kind of just like out there having a good time. And I know it sounds weird because we've seen I don't want to call them trick plays, but they've been really creative, if you will. And that's not something I feel like I've seen a lot from Lovie Smith throughout his career, but they're just, it's like a swagger almost. They, fought hard versus Dallas. They fought hard versus Kansas City. It's like, you guys aren't tanking very well.
They're not taking. That's the thing is they're being competitive, but they are still losing. So maybe they lose here but they lose by the hook. So it's 3.5, and then they lose by a field goal. But just like all the reasons to fade, this is obviously more of a play against the Tennessee Titans rather than a play on the Texans.
Oh yeah,
the Titans averaging 25 yards per possession, 31st in the league. Tennessee punting on 49% of the drives. That's 31st in the league. The Titans are averaging 2.28 points per drive in the first half of games. And that's 12th best in the league. In the second half, they are 32nd in points per drive. They dropped, and that was the nugget that I wanted to give you. And they are averaging 3.1 scoring plays per drive. That's the fewest in the league. So it is, by default, my only scare is that you've seen how well King Derrick Henry does against the Texans. 200 rushing yards every game.
He does. And that's going to be the only way they win this game. I mean, he is going to have to be in every single play. But Houston's won 2 of their last 4 at Tennessee. It's not like they've just gotten historically beat up really bad there. Yes, they haven't been great on the road winning games, but 3 in the hook. Yeah, I kind of like it.
Let's do it.
I think so.
And then
it's so funny how we agreed, and then we agreed on nothing else.
Then we agreed on nothing else. We didn't talk about the Chargers and the Colts. Is there any other game instead of the Bengals?
We can talk about the Chargers and the Colts.
The Seahawks Chiefs is
Colts
an option.
Is 4.5. Chiefs. Let's see what I got here for the Chiefs game.
10.
Ooh, 10. And in the contest, it is also, okay.
10.
Yeah. Huh. I know you love Seattle. He's your boy.
This would be in place of the Bengals. If you don't love the Bengals, then we could consider either the Seahawks Chiefs game or the Chargers Colts. Those would literally be our only other two options because we are
Kansas
either
City's
opposite.
defense is really fun to bet against, right? I mean, they're giving up over 26 points in their last 3 non-covers. Gino, Gino's kind of had this little bit of a roller coaster this year.
They don't have
do you
Kenneth,
think
they don't have Kenneth Walker?
Okay.
Oh, wait,
do you think Seattle's run defense?
Oh, he should be playing Saturday. Good. Kenneth Walker should be playing Saturday.
Do you think Jerick McKinnon can have a day against Seattle's run defense? Because in theory, they should be able to. And I think that's going to open up the offense for Patrick Mahomes. We've noticed that when they play teams that can stop the run and make Patrick Mahomes a little more one-dimensional, which is very, very hard to do, it does cause him to throw interceptions and force turnovers.
I mean, just think about this defense. This is a Chiefs defense that allowed the Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson, who hasn't cooked once all season,
28-0,
this is the most points scored by the Broncos all season. This is the most passing yards from Russell Wilson all season. This is the most passing touchdowns, 3 from Russell Wilson all season. The Denver Broncos had their best offensive game against the Chiefs. And then the following week, they got into a big F-up of a situation with the Texans. Turnovers were a problem. It was just sloppy. However, in that game, if you look at it, like the Chiefs outplayed them. I mean, 500 yards to 219. It was just those two turnovers. They had 2 fumbles lost. You've got to
listen, and you're giving mistakes. Pete Carroll extra time to prepare.
Okay, so would you like the Seahawks instead of the Bengals?
Yes, because the Chiefs have been burning money since like week 3. I'd have to fact check that, but it feels like since week 3 they've been burning money, or very, very close to that.
I'm going to double check that against the spread. All games. Kansas. They are 4-9-1 against the spread this season. I mean, that's pretty simple.
I knew they were burning money. I just didn't know how bad. But yeah, I want to say they covered like the first 2 weeks, and then it was just like,
they're the second worst against the spread team in the league, behind only the Bucks. Plug it in. Seahawks plus 10. So then let's go ahead. Okay, perfect. Those are our 5. We're going with the Giants plus 4 to the Vikings, the Bears plus 8.5 to the Bills, the Eagles plus 5.5 to the Cowboys, the Seahawks plus 10 to the Chiefs, and the Texans plus 3.5 to the Titans. 5 underdogs. How do you feel about that?
I love it. Of course
I love it.
I love come on, give me all the dogs.
Give me all the dogs. They're going to be barking this week. It is week 16. This is when you want to take the dogs, when everybody is fighting for something. They're fighting for player incentives, contract extensions, moving to a better team. They're trying to fancy up the resume.
These must-win situations for the flip side, the favorites, is built into the line. The bookmakers know you're going to bet. This team's got to win if they want to stay in the playoffs. This team's got to win if they want home field advantage. This team's got to win to clinch the division. They don't got to do anything.
And just because it's a must-win doesn't mean they actually win. Exactly. So do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at KellyInVegas. You can follow me on Twitter at PamelaM35. And I am super excited that I'm going to be seeing your face in person in 2 weeks, because we're going to be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars game against the Titans.
Too bad it's going to be so cold we can't get the seats in the pool. I really wanted to be in the pool. The first time at the Jag Stadium, I really wanted to just jump into the pool, big time cannonball, but it's going to be cold.
I'm pretty sure that it's a heated pool and it's 70 degrees. So maybe still an option.
So anyway, if you guys know who has the pool for that weekend, you let us know and we'll come join.
Cool. So then do make sure to follow us on Twitter, leave your comments and let us know about what do you think of our card. And until then, we'll see you next week. Another episode of Stack Sets.